Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Engage Culture podcast. I'm so excited to spend this evening with you. I'm going to be talking about a very interesting topic that I know is going to bless you, edify you, and take you to another level. At Shapers Church, we have a vision and a mission statement which simply says building productive people, and that is the central ethos and the central philosophy of what we are called to do as a church. And one of the key messages we preached some time ago was taken from Genesis 46:33. And in Genesis 46:33, we've got Joseph and his brothers and his family. They're transitioning from Canaan into Egypt. This is the post famine period, and now they're migrating into Egypt. And then they have an interesting exchange and an interesting conversation where Joseph says to them that when we come to Egypt, one of the first things that Pharaoh is going to ask you is, what is your occupation? And this is a key question. And when he asks you, you must tell them that even from our youth, our fathers, our forefathers, everybody before us, we were into the livestock business. And the reason why Joseph was able to do that is he had done a survey of the Egyptian economy, and he'd also done a survey of his brothers and his family, and he understood the skill sets that they had. And he was able to find a productive place in Egypt, and they were placed in Goshen. And the interesting thing is, Egyptians looked down on livestock farmers, but they, through that business, were able to become extremely successful, and they did extremely well in that industry. So today's conversation I want to talk about is just simply called career guidance. Now, the most important question you're ever going to answer in life is actually, what is your occupation? What do you do with your gifts, your talents, and your abilities to generate an income? What do you do to be productive? And this is a very critical question, which many times a lot of us, this conversation should actually happen within the confines of a family. Our parents have to sit down and talk to us about our career. What is it that we plan to do to generate an income? And income is not generated just from praying and speaking in tongues and calling it from the skies. You've got to have something that you do in order to generate an income. And today I want us to have this conversation, a career guidance conversation. And I find this is very critical in every believer's life, especially us in the church, particularly with concepts of faith and prosperity. A key part of your journey for prosperity is the career you choose. And it's very important to understand that everybody needs career guidance. And if you're a parent, it's something you just can't subcontract to children. It's a big decision which you have to pray about and think about for years and years. So by the time they're finishing their matric, that conversation is not just happening after the matric dance. That's a conversation which has been going on for years, and it's based on vision, it's based on wisdom, and it's based on divine guidance from the Lord. Now, the first most important aspect of career guidance is, first and foremost, you've got to know yourself. It all begins with a knowledge of self. You've got to know yourself, you've got to know your strengths, and then you've also got to know your passions. You got to know your strengths. You got to know, what are the things I'm actually good at, and what are the things which I might not be good at, but I know if I work hard, I can get good at this. And also another clue is around the things you actually enjoy doing. A lot of people get caught up. They make the mistake sometimes of getting caught up in careers which they actually hate. So the building block is to come and understand who you are so that you're able to find the right career path for your life. Number two, it's very important that you know your marketplace environment, know the context of your economy. And one of the mistakes we've made, particularly in Africa, whether it is sometimes in faith circles, sometimes in the self-help community, is always to use American examples in Africa. And particularly, we're very guilty of throwing out names like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. Sometimes we always like to throw out entertainers like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye West, and athletes like LeBron and all these various people. And one of the things we always have to be aware of when we're giving people career advice is that we have to understand the context where we are. We've got to understand the context, the macro environment where we are. The opportunities in South Africa are not the same as the opportunities in America. The opportunities in America are not the same as the opportunities in Australia or in Zambia or in DRC. Every country has different productivity opportunities. And we've got to be able to identify that these are the things that are available in our economy for you to develop a career where you are productive and can do. Number 3, know what careers are in demand. And sometimes we put ourselves on career paths which are not particularly in demand in the context of the economy where you are. You got to spend some time trying to figure out what careers are in demand, and that's a very good place to get plugged in. And then number 4, know the pay scales. Know the pay scales of every career. This one is very critical because sometimes we've got visions and hopes to be multimillionaires and multi-billionaires, but not every career path leads to millionaire status. Not every career path leads to billionaire status. Some careers don't pay millions, but they pay you in meaning, in purpose, and in being and fulfillment in doing what you do. So it's very important that when you're pursuing a career, it's good to also understand what's the kind of pay scale within this career, not to make the mistake of just pursuing something without adequately studying it. Number 5, you've got to be able to link the career you're pursuing with the outcome that it produces, particularly with knowledge. When you're going into training, when you're going to school, when you're going to study something at college, it's very important to understand, okay, this degree that I'm getting, what kind of job opportunities, what kind of career opportunities are within this job, again, I have to stress, within the context of the country where I want to apply the skill. And it's important to understand that, okay, this might be a niche field of study with very limited marketplace applications. It is very important to know what is the end game of this thing. What do people become after they've done this? And then number 6, it's important to know what type of training is needed for whatever career path you're going for. And there's certain career paths which do not need formal training. You can do some informal training, particularly now in our times. You can do some training on YouTube. There's various things available from Google, all these other people, and all these other various platforms. And you got to know what kind of training does this career have, because different careers have got different training requirements. Some are formal. There's some career paths where you have to have formal qualifications. And when we start throwing out in church, God doesn't need qualifications to bless you, but there are certain careers, unfortunately, where part of the requirement there are certain strict qualifications. So, for example, if you want to be a heart surgeon, you can't just rock up and say, the Lord has anointed me for this. There are certain strict qualifications for that. If you want to be a pilot, and particularly high-skilled jobs, which are also the high-paying jobs, they require certain levels of qualification. So make sure you study which kind of training is needed. And then number 7, it's important to know what are the training and educational opportunities within the context of the environment I am in. Child of God, one thing I want to encourage you tonight is educate yourself as much as possible. Do not limit yourself. Do not hold back. Do not ever feel like it's too late. Do not feel like I don't need it. I don't need any form of training. I don't need any form of education. Make sure you know what are the educational opportunities around me and maximize them as much as possible. And then number 8, it is also critical that make sure you define what is career success to you. You got to make sure that you've got your own definition of what career success looks like, because different careers have different levels of success, and it's not the same. Every path is unique. Every career path is unique, but it's important that you're able to define, this is what success in my career looks like. That's how you're going to be able to develop a certain level of contentment. And then number 9, it's important that you decide what you're going to do, what career you're going to pursue, and what it is that you want to achieve. You have to decide what you're going to do. And number 10, you've got to make it happen. You've got to go for it with all of your might and succeed. I pray that God blesses you on whatever career path you're on. If you feel you're not on the right path, I want to encourage you, start working out a plan to come out of that path and to get into the path you believe is the right path for you. It can be hard. You can feel like, man, I've wasted so much time. I'm in a job that I hate. Now, don't jump the gun and just walk out of your job before you get another job. Make sure that you're very strategic, you're very wise, so that you become productive. In Genesis 1:28, the first thing that God says to man is, he says, be fruitful. That's the first thing we ever hear from God, is a blessing for fruitfulness, a blessing for productivity. And tonight I pray that God blesses you and he gives you wisdom when you're navigating your career path. It is such an important decision. It affects everything. It affects who you marry, it affects your children, it affects your church, it affects your life. So whatever career decision you make, you got to be prayerful about it. And you got to trust God and make the right move. I pray that God blesses your career and that you keep on succeeding.